Hey guys, so today's video is going to be another My Makeup Stash. We're going to be doing part 2 of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm pretty sure how I'm going to do this is I'm going to post them kind of like how I normally post my Makeup Stashes, so it's going to be very sporadic. But when I'm filming this, I actually filmed part 1 yesterday. So this is My Makeup Stash eyeshadow palettes part 2 for April 2023. This is always subject to change. I have a serious obsession with eyeshadow palettes. I feel the need to own every single eyeshadow palette ever made. I have quite a few palettes that are in my to-try pile, things I haven't found yet, and things I haven't bought yet. So this is always going to change. It's always subject to change. I don't really declutter my eyeshadow palettes. I am planning to declutter one eyeshadow palette soon. I don't know when. I have such a hard time decluttering my eyeshadow palettes. But every other piece of makeup in my collection, I don't really have that hard time decluttering. I'm a hoarder. That's all I can say. I'm a hoarder. I love beautiful things. But anyways, okay, so this is not organized. So they're kind of very, like the brands are very sporadic. So I hope that that's okay for you guys. I'm also currently counting all of my eyeshadow palettes that I have. We're starting on 41. So we're starting on 41, so I can't wait to see how many eyeshadow palettes I have at the end of this. Okay. So these first 6 palettes, I actually did a would I repurchase video on these, which hopefully will be up for this video. Anyways, this is the SheGlam Adventurous Aries palette. I am an Aries, and I also do swatch like 4 shades usually from the palette. So I'm going to swatch this shade and this shimmer, and I'll swatch the matte and this red, just to kind of show you guys a little bit of these palettes. I don't like SheGlam anymore, but I do have quite a few products from SheGlam, which is why I still kind of show them on my channel, because I did spend money on these products, so I want to get my use out of them. But anyways, this isn't the best quality in my personal opinion for eyeshadows. It's definitely something you can make work if you're on a budget, but personally I would just recommend going to ColourPop, honestly. If you're on a budget, I do think that you can get way better quality from ColourPop around the same price of SheGlam. I mean, I've always spent like over $50 on SheGlam stuff, so whenever I would do an order, that $50 I could get a lot better quality at ColourPop. This is the Chromosome palette in Velocity. I was not going to get these until I saw Tati had reviewed them, and I was so in love and so smitten with them, I went and purchased them. So this is the shade. This is the whole reason I purchased this palette. I'm going to show you the dark shade as well, this shimmer and this light matte, because this one's always the one I love to go for, but it just doesn't go with any look that I ever create. So this is that shimmer I was telling you guys about. It's very creamy. It's kind of like a Super Shock shadow almost. But I do think that ColourPop Super Shock shadows are better. That's the darkest that this palette goes. Here is a regular shimmer from this palette. And here is that light matte. You can definitely see what I mean, because I'm always going for this blue whenever I pull this palette out. This just doesn't go with it. So Color Story is very inconsistent. I have the other Chromosome palette in Time Warp. I actually like this one a little bit better because I like that cream shade just a little bit. I like this shade just a little bit better than that other one. So I'm going to swatch that. I am going to show you this black that has sparkle in it. I'm going to show you this matte. And I'll show you this shimmer so you guys can see kind of like all different formulas in this palette. So here's that cream shade. Here's that matte with sparkle. There's the matte, and there's the shimmer. I have some Alter Ego palettes next. So this is the Luster Charm palette. Is that what this is called? I think this is, yeah, Luster Charm. This is a dupe for Pat McGrath's Divine Rose 1, or it's supposed to be. So I'm going to show you what is, I think, the special shades. So this is supposed to be a special shade. This one, and this one, I believe, are the special shades. I don't think that these are special, like Pat McGrath's. Alright, so here it, like I said, these aren't really special like Pat McGrath's are, which is the reason I purchased Pat McGrath's palettes. I don't think it's a dupe. That's what I'm trying to get. See, I have the Artemis palette. This is a palette I definitely can see myself decluttering in the future. I don't know when, because I only declutter one palette, and I bring in like 9,000. But anyways, I don't like this palette. I don't like the cream to powders. I don't like the color story. I don't really like the blue. I don't like this green. I'm not a fan of the Metropolis palette though, so this is literally like the only shade I go into whenever I pull this palette out, because this palette just doesn't, that's the cream to powder. I'm not really a fan of that formula. There's that blue, there's that green, there's the shimmer I always grab whenever I pull this palette out, because this color story does not inspire me. It actually hinders me and makes me not be super creative. And I'm the type of person, obviously, look at my eye look today. I love to be creative with my makeup. Like, if a palette stifles me, which is very, very rare for a color story to stifle me and not make me feel super creative. It's just, it's not good. It's not a good palette if it makes me feel not creative, you know? And this is the Aurora palette, which is meant to dupe Natasha Denona's Sunrise palette. I have Sunrise. So I'm going to swatch Nova because that's my mommy's name. I'm going to swatch this shade because this is supposed to be a duochrome. I want to show it to you guys. I should swatch. I'm going to swatch this yellow. And I want to swatch one more shimmer, so I'll swatch Ray. Okay. So here is Nova. That beautiful duochrome, which could be a little bit better. Here's that yellow, and then there's that regular shimmer. So it's these are good. I definitely think that these are good. If you have the Natasha Denona palettes, I don't think you need these. Like, I don't feel... If I wasn't a YouTuber, I would have one or the other, not both. But I have them for comparison purposes. I've done videos on these. It's hard for me to explain. I don't feel like you need both of them, but I also don't feel like somebody's going to come up to you and be like, hey, are you wearing that Natasha Denona palette or are you wearing that Alter Ego palette? Like, if you look at this, you would not be able to tell me that I'm wearing Natasha Denona's Retro palette and Huda Beauty's Love Fest palette. Did you guess that that's what was on my eyes? I combined the Retro palette and the Love Fest palette, and I did a very sultry, smoky purple look, and I love it. Huda Beauty and Natasha Denona work pretty well together for me. But yeah, did you guess that that was on my eyes? Because that's what's on my eyes. Nobody's going to be able to tell what is on your eyes. Okay, so I have 5 more Alter Ego palettes to get through, so let's go ahead and do that. This is... Okay, so this is the Canyon palette from Alter Ego. This is meant to dupe Natasha Denona's Bronze palette. I have all of these palettes. So, let's see. I'm going to show you this one because it's kind of like a duochrome almost. I'm going to show you this shade because it is a cream to powder. This one is a matte. And I'll show you this one. That is a shimmer, so that gives you a variety of what you'd be getting in this palette. So, alright, here is the Blooms palette. This is meant to dupe the Love palette from Natasha Denona. My point being was, okay, here is a cream to powder. My point being, though, was, there's a matte shimmer, and I'll get more pigmented matte. If you like the color story of Natasha Denona's palettes, but you can't afford it, then there are options. Like, we don't have to buy just to buy. Like, there are options, is what I was trying to say. Okay, next is the Sahara palette, which is meant to dupe the Biba palette, which is a lot of people's favorites. It's not mine, honestly. It's really not. Mostly because this black that's in this palette and in the Natasha Denona palette is a satin, and I don't really like that. So I'm going to show you how deep it is, how light it goes. I'm going to show you a shimmer. I think this one's a cream to powder, isn't it? No, this is a powder. So this is that black. You can see it is very pigmented. It's a satin. This is the lightest shade. This is that shimmer, and then here is another matte. Thinking about throwing the boxes to these away because they're kind of the same as what's inside the palette. Like, they match. This is the Goddess palette. This is meant to dupe the Gold palette. This is definitely a good dupe because the Gold palette comes back every now and again, but it's $129. I do own the Gold palette, but it is like discontinued, so I do recommend, if you like the color story of the Gold, getting this palette because it comes and it goes, and this is really good for that too. Let's do this. My 2 favorite shades in here are this shimmery green, this matte green. I love doing a look with those 2, just those 2. And here are a couple other shimmers. I also have the Shadow Kiss palette, which is meant to dupe the Glam palette, which is a lot of people's favorite. Alright, so let me show... I'm going to show this warm tone, this cool tone, this is the lightest shade, and this is the deepest shade. Alright, so this is kind of like a gold cool tone, silver cool tone, lightest shade, and deepest shade. I'm at 52 palettes so far. So this is the one I think I will declutter in my next declutter. This is the Storybook Cosmetics' Little Red Riding Hood palette. I don't think Storybook Cosmetics is a thing anymore, and I saw something about it being a scam. So I don't really want to support that. Plus, it's super duper bulky. I did get this in a BoxyCharm years ago though, so take that information for what you will. So here's a couple shades. See, it's pretty nice. Like, it is nice quality, but not enough to justify a scam. Okay, so like I said, I have these kind of scattered everywhere, so you're going to just run into random brands. I haven't organized these yet. I will be doing a video organizing them. I have part 1 where I organized the first one. I have not worked on the second ones yet. I have 2 C-Color Cosmetics palettes right here. I have the Golden palette, which is another dupe for Natasha Denona. Let's see, I'll swatch the 2 shades that I love. This shade and this gold. This isn't actually the absolute best quality. I would recommend the Goddess palette over this one. As you guys can see, that green is just not as pigmented as the Goddess one, and the packaging is just a little bit cheaper. I do think that Alter Ego has the best dupe when it comes to the gold palette. This is the Savannah palette. I love this palette. This palette is one I definitely don't think I could get without having. This is the dupe for the Safari palette. The mattes in here are just so creamy, and I don't understand what C-Color Cosmetics did in between palettes, because, like, look at that compared to this. Like, look. Pat McGrath Mothership number 4. This is Decadence. This is the All Shimmer palette. It doesn't have any special shades in it. It's an all shimmer palette. I will show you my favorite shades are this one, this one, this one, and this one. I think that these 4 in particular are extra special shimmers. This is Focalore's Impressionism palette. It's meant to be like an impression of the Safari palette. I think that the C-Color Cosmetics one is better than this one. I don't think that this one is pigmented or anywhere near as good, even if this was meant to be a dupe. They did not hit the mark at all. This is a palette I definitely can see myself living without. It took forever to get to me, and the mattes are just, they swatched really good. On me personally, I've noticed that they are just a very, very dusty formula. Alright, I have one ColourPop palette right here, which is the Wild Child palette. This is one I could see myself decluttering in the future for sure. Alright, just because I haven't really, like, I just feel like is a little too deep for me. So watch, this is the lightest shade, this is the deepest shade, this does have a glitter that I never reach for, and I'll show you the shimmer. Alright, so lightest shade, deepest shade, very crumbly, glitter, shimmer. I have one Sheglam palette right now in this area, which is the Tenacious Taurus palette. Brandon was a Taurus, so I like this color story, but I don't like the pigmentation. So let me I'll show you just this bottom row, because I think you'll see it. I'm not the biggest fan of Sheglam anymore, honestly. Like, that's a beautiful color story, but I have better in other brands, and you're gonna see in the next palette. Alright, Odin's Eyes Hella palette. This is with Angelica Nikovis. I fell in love with Odin's Eye due to this palette. You can see, and I'm going to see if I can get some similar shades, and I'm going to swatch them next to the Sheglam so you can see what I mean. Even though Odin's Eye, for me, personally, they win with the shimmers. I have other Odin's Eye palettes that you're going to see later on. Oops. I meant to switch those 2 pinks. But you can see the difference in pigmentation just right off the swatch. Alright, I have this Danessa Myrix palette. I do not own Lightwork, the original Volume 3. I want to get the Volume 4 so bad every time I think about how beautiful these are, but I don't use these enough as is, and I just don't want to do that to myself. These are so gorgeous. These are so gorgeous. Like, you are going to freak when you see these swatches. Like, look at that. That is just top-notch, better shimmers. One Milani palette. This is the all-inclusive eye, cheek, and face palette. This is light to medium. I'm planning to do a Milani order. I was like, I'll get the other ones. I don't know if I'm going to get the other ones. I just want to get some of the dupe palettes from Milani, honestly. I use all of this as, like, I use all of this as eyeshadow. I don't know where I was going with that. But I use all of these as eyeshadows, so let me just show you. That shimmer is so gorgeous. This is meant to dupe Charlotte Tilbury, I believe. I have one REM Beauty palette right here. This is Baby Doll. I want to get the other ones too. I'm going to show you how light and deep this goes. And I'll show you the shimmers. I just have not had the best experience with these. I hope that she rebrands, honestly, and just reformulates. Or not rebrands, reformulate. Just reformulate. See, that swatched really good. That swatched really good. But every time I've used this on my eyes, it's just never good. Anastasia's Nouveau palette. I love the formula of this. This is amazing. I'm going to have to show you. I'm going to try and see if I can find similar shades to those greens and those pinks. Ugh, there's just so many shades in here I just love so much. So let me show you just right here. Like the similarity between all three of those palettes. Can you see the similarity? I don't think I would need all of those palettes, but I have them. I have 5 more ColourPop palettes right here. So I have Set in Stone. These are like different formatted than the 9 pans and not the mega palettes. Like these are just like little 10 pans. I hate the cream shades that they put in here. I'll show you. Cream shade, I'll show you the light shade, the deep shade, and I'll show you one of these shimmers. I actually like this shimmer the best, I think. So here's that cream shade. That cream shade is not good for a base, which is what I tend to use cream shades and palettes for, bases. I also have Twist of Slate from ColourPop. Again, I will show you the cream shade. Not a good base. Lightest shadow, deepest shadow. I actually like this shimmer the best. Okay, so cream, light, deep, shimmer. Alright, here is Clay Cool. I'm pretty sure my light's going to be dying soon, so we're going to have to end this video soon. So here is the cream shade here. Lightest shade, deepest shade. Best shimmer, I think, is this one here. So let me show you. Cream, light, deep, shimmer. ColourPop's Nude Mood. Everybody loves this palette. So that's kind of like a Super Shock. Let me do a matte, shimmer, and then a sequin shade, just to show you guys the variety. Alright, so Super Shock, matte, shimmer, sequin shade. I'm not sure if you can actually see that sequin shade, but there is glitter that comes off in the swatch. Alright, and I have Blush Crush also. So I'll do, again, the Super Shock. I'll do one of these sequin shades, a matte, and I'll do this shimmer. Alright, so Super Shock, sequin, matte, shimmer. Okay, so I did a giant ColourPop order, which is where I got all those ColourPop palettes from last year. So these are like really bad, which is why they're off in their own like little separate corner away from those other ones because they're in the bad area. This is the What the Shell palette from ColourPop. And again, it is, as I talked about in the first episode, that clear packaging that sucks. So here's the Super Shock shade. I'll do this matte, I'll do a regular shimmer, and I'll do a sequin, just to give you a variety. So Super Shock, here's that matte, shimmer, sequin. You can see in the swatches that these are so bad. Then I have the other shade, which is Shell Shock, which is the one I was actually the most excited about, because look at this color story. Is that not so interesting? So interesting. So I'm going to swatch the Super Shock shade for you guys. I'm going to swatch this matte shade. I'm going to swatch a shimmer and a sequin. I'm pretty sure that's a sequin shade. Yeah, that's a sequin shade. Yep, those are sequin shades. So here is the Super Shock, the matte, the shimmer, and the sequin. You can just see the pigmentation on that is just, I'm thinking beautiful mermaid looks. This is giving nothing. I almost can't believe it, but we're at 71 palettes right now, so. And my light just died. I don't care, we're going to get through this row, and then we're going to call it ended. So this is the She Glam Gifted Gemini palette. My sister's a Gemini, and I'm telling you right now, she would not wear this color story. Look at that. No. This is kind of a sequin shade, so I'll show you that. I love purple, so you know I gotta show you the purple. This light purple, and I will do this green. Okay. Oh, I gotta blend that out. That didn't... Very powdery. So that's an all matte colorful palette. This is the Glitz Wiz palette in the shade Ecstasy, which is another dupe palette. I think this is meant to dupe a Huda Beauty palette. I can see myself decluttering this. I'm going to swatch this glitter because I don't think I've ever swatched the glitter. The shimmers in here are just lackluster. I'm going to swatch this, and we'll do this shade also. Okay, so here is that swatched. Okay, hang on. I have the ColourPop Lucky Penny palette. Mine is broken. Mine is severely broken. More shadow just came out. As you can see, severely broken. So that puts a damper on this palette for me, and I was really excited. I don't really use this palette too often anymore, like, because of that. I'll do this shade. It just makes such a giant mess whenever I pull it out. But it looks gorgeous. I was going to say, I can't believe my light was still going. Anyways, this is the She Glam Caring Cancer palette. Kai is a Cancer. I wore this the other day. This is just not the color short I would choose for Cancer. I think crabs when I think Cancer. I think boys. I would do blues. But, I mean, this is what She Glam gives. So, I honestly could have just watched that last row and would have been happy. Because it's really pretty. It's just not what I think of for Cancer, to be completely honest. Yeah, we're going to have to end the episode at the end of this, swatching these ones, because the light is definitely dead. The palette I am wearing today, Huda Beauty's Love Fest palette, one of my favorite palettes ever, to be completely honest. Look how gorgeous. I'm wearing both of the shimmer shades combined together on the lid. Oh, love it. I'm going to swatch the shimmer shades, and I'm going to swatch 2 of the orange matte shades for you guys. It's just such a unique color story. I think it was just still recording. I had to pull this palette out because I'm planning to use it tomorrow. This is the ColourPop's Feelin' Bubbly palette. What am I going to swatch? I'll do the light shade, the dark shade, this gold and silver shade. Alright, ready guys? Here we go. Really pretty. Cannot wait to see the looks I come up with for tomorrow's look. Okay. I have 4 more ColourPop palettes, so I have to remember I have 5 ColourPop palettes to add. This is just a custom palette I built. Kind of like the shades I thought of for Zodiacs. So I'm going to do Aries' shade. This little like Taurus like brown I was thinking. And I have a black in here. And I'll do this because I think this was a duochrome, if I remember correctly. So here we go. I just went ahead and added the 5, and I'm at 81 palettes so far. This is ColourPop and Sailor Moon. I will never declutter this. This was one of my spring palettes this year, I believe. So I'm going to swatch the glitter, the sequin, the Super Shock, and I'll swatch the shimmer as well. I love Sailor Moon. I need to watch Sailor Moon again. It's been a while. There is the Sailor Moon palette. I have the Avatar palette. I also have the Legend of Korra palette. I think that these two palettes would go great together. I love the looks I create with both of the palettes. So I'm going to go ahead and do... I need to do a matte. I'm going to do this light brown matte. I'm going to do this sequin shade. And a couple shimmers. Okay, here we go. I have the It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop as well. Yes, Kai, I'm going to change it. So this is a purple palette. I've actually purchased this like 3 times. I can be stupid sometimes. I heard that this was a dupe for the Amethyst palette, the Mini Obsessions. I'm going to do this purple because I've got purples in the shade here. I don't have the Amethyst palette, so let me know if it is. I think one of my friends has it. I can borrow it from her. Maybe. Alright, there are the swatches. I only have 2 more palettes. So I have the She Glam Lively Leo palette. My mom's a Leo. Yeah, my mom is a Leo. This color story does kind of do Leo in my opinion. It has a glitter. I'm going to show you the glitter. It's not good, but it has it. I also want to show you the yellow, this red, and I'm going to show you this deep shade down here as well. So here we go. And this is what I swatched. Alright, I have just one more palette, and it is Mothership number 5, Bronze Seduction. Here it is. The gorgeousness. This is one of my favorite Motherships. I'm going to swatch the special shades, of course, because I always reach into the special shades in this palette. Like, if I pull this palette out, it's typically to play with this shade right here. It's like a rose gold shade. Look at that prettiness. Okay, so we made it through 3 drawers today. 3 more drawers, and I am at 83 palettes. So I own, right now that we've gone through in this little mini series inside of a series, 23 palettes. I said 23, I meant 83. Alright, that's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to end it here. Kai is on his way to say his goodbye-byes with a cheese puff in his hand. Alright, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. We'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Say bye, guys. Alright, bye, guys.